I'm saying that there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
And they are
And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
Yes.
You're 7 years old and someone is stroking your it feels good.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. I believe there's a lot of darkness in Hollywood right now, and I believe it's been there for quite some time. And as we've seen with the Harvey Weinstein scandal, it continues to unfold. New names come forward every day. Now there's names of misconduct with Kevin Spacey, with this, child actor who came forward today.
For decades, Corey Feldman has been known as more than just a child star. He's been a survivor, a truth teller, and one of the few voices brave enough to take on the hidden giants of the entertainment industry. And now, with Diddy's empire crumbling under lawsuits, federal investigations, and a trail of scandals, Feldman is stepping forward once again. This time, he's not just talking about Hollywood's shadowy past. He's directly linking his own childhood experiences to one of the most powerful men in music history. Diddy has spent years presenting himself as untouchable, the mogul with the billion-dollar smile, the master of parties, the so-called king of hip-hop business. But behind the luxury cars, the red carpets, and the flashing cameras lies a story that Feldman insists the world needs to hear. Because for him, the story isn't about money, music, or fame. It's about what was stolen from him as a child and how the system allowed predators like Diddy to rise unchecked.
And
they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
Yes.
And that they're still in this business?
Yes.
That's what, and that's what you were saying in your book. When you talk to, when you talk to
and
parents,
they don't want me here right now. Trust
Corey,
me. They want me dead.
I did not realize that you can quite literally draw a direct line from Prince to Michael Jackson to Ye, and then now to Justin Bieber and the things that they have been saying.
I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist.
There's a disintegration going on that we really have to address. And our values have been lessened to a great degree. People can say all they want to, that there's no reason for these kids to listen to music and then go shoot somebody. But, there's something that's triggering these buttons.
Record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can.
We can't just say, oh, it's okay for people to super complicate deals and to collude on deals and to not look at us as human beings, as artists and athletes and actors, that we have to be willing to stand up for that to be able to change something.
If they cannot control you, they will ruin you. So I started thinking over this weekend, what if we just stopped for 1 second accusing all of these artists of being crazy, and instead we started actually investigating some of the things that they've been saying?
Corey's journey through Hollywood was nothing short of brutal. He was one of the most recognizable faces of the 1980s, starring in The Goonies, Stand By Me, and The Lost Boys. To the public, he was a symbol of innocence and youthful charm. But behind the scenes, Corey was navigating a nightmare. He's spoken openly about being targeted by powerful figures in the industry, men who saw child actors not as kids to be protected, but as pawns to be used. For years, Corey was dismissed as paranoid, bitter, or chasing headlines, but time has been on his side. One by one, scandals have erupted across Hollywood, from Harvey Weinstein to Jeffrey Epstein, proving that Corey's warnings weren't wild theories, they were the truth. And with Diddy now facing his own legal downfall, Corey has connected the dots in ways that are deeply unsettling. According to Feldman, Diddy wasn't just another star who came to power in the 1990s. He was part of a machine that thrived on silence, intimidation, and exploitation. Corey claims that when he was young, Diddy was among those who crossed the line, and that his own trauma can be traced back to encounters with the man who would later become one of the biggest names in music. The revelation shakes everything we thought we knew about Diddy. His brand was built on fun, excess, and success, the ultimate American dream. But Feldman paints a very different picture. He describes situations where young performers were drawn into environments they should have never been part of. parties that blurred the line between glamour and danger, invitations that felt less like opportunities and more like traps. Corey recalls being introduced to circles of wealth and power far beyond what any teenager should ever see. The promises of mentorship, the talk of helping careers, the false smiles hiding darker intentions. He describes moments of confusion, fear, and manipulation, moments where the people he thought he could trust turned out to be the ones he should have feared the most. And in his telling, Diddy wasn't just a bystander in the system, he was active in it. Corey insists that his earliest memories of Hollywood's darkest side tie directly to encounters with Diddy. He describes a man who thrived on control, who sought to break down boundaries, and who used his influence to ensure that no one dared to speak against him. As Corey explains it, the silence was the most powerful weapon. In Hollywood, speaking out against the wrong person meant career suicide. Agents, producers, directors, and fellow actors all knew who was dangerous, but they chose to look the other way. They protected the powerful instead of protecting the innocent. And when Corey tried to raise the alarm, he was met with ridicule, blacklisting, and intimidation. But the truth has a way of catching up. Decades later, Diddy's empire is under fire. Former associates, employees, and even romantic partners are exposing shocking details about his behavior. Lawsuits describe hidden cameras, manipulation, and secret recordings. Federal investigators are digging into finances, properties, and private events. And in the middle of it all, Corey's voice has returned, louder than ever, reminding the world that he was one of the first to try and warn us. Feldman's decision to connect his childhood trauma directly to Diddy is explosive. He says he remembers the moments vividly, being too young to understand, too scared to resist, and too isolated to escape. He describes how Diddy positioned himself as someone who could open doors, someone who could offer opportunities, but instead dragged him into situations that left scars he carried for life. These aren't vague accusations. Corey paints a picture of Diddy as someone who wasn't just throwing wild parties as an adult, but was part of a culture that preyed on young performers even back then. And the weight of Corey's testimony comes not just from his words, but from the decades of evidence that have since piled up against Diddy. The lawsuits, the raids, the testimonies from former friends and employees, it all forms a puzzle that suddenly makes Corey's story impossible to ignore. For years, people doubted him. Now, with Diddy behind bars and facing a collapse unlike anything we've seen in music history, those same people are starting to realize that Feldman may have been telling the truth all along. But why is Corey speaking now? According to him, the answer is simple. He's tired of the silence. He's tired of watching powerful figures destroy lives while being shielded by their fame. He's tired of seeing young talent step into the spotlight only to be chewed up and discarded by the same machine that nearly destroyed him. And as he puts it, if exposing Diddy means putting a target on his own back, then so be it. Because the risk of staying silent is far greater than the risk of speaking out. Corey describes how his trauma didn't end when the incident stopped. It haunted him for years, driving him into isolation, destructive behavior, and substance struggles. He says that every bad decision he made as a young adult can be traced back to the confusion and pain of those early years. And he insists that Diddy's role in that pain cannot be denied. The fallout has been massive. Fans who once idolized Diddy are questioning everything. Media outlets are racing to cover the scandals, but they're still hesitant to dive into the full depth of Feldman's claims. And behind the scenes, Corey insists, there are people panicking, terrified that if he names names, the entire industry could collapse under the weight of its own corruption. Because Corey isn't just talking about one man, he's talking about a system. A system where stars like Diddy could rise, not despite their predatory behavior, but because of it. A system that rewards silence, punishes truth, and treats children as disposable. Feldman says that until that system is torn down, Hollywood will never be safe. And he's using his platform, his pain, and his past to make sure the world never forgets what was done to him. What makes Corey's story so powerful isn't just the horror of what he endured. It's the courage it takes to tell it. He's been mocked, ignored, and dismissed for years. He's been threatened, sabotaged, and even blacklisted. But he never stopped. And now, with Diddy finally facing consequences, Corey's words are being heard in a new light. The story of Corey Feldman versus Diddy isn't just about one survivor and one predator. It's about truth versus power, innocence versus corruption, and the question of how many more secrets are waiting to be revealed. Because if Corey's right, and if Diddy really was one of the figures who harmed him when he was young, then this scandal isn't just the end of Diddy's career, it's the beginning of Hollywood's reckoning.